What would you do if the world was thrown into chaos and duress? What if policies were turned on their head and government operations rapidly ceased to look the same across the country? What if people that were in charge of the strongest military on the planet were fired and replacements quickly shuffled into their positions? What if there was pushback and neighbors were pitted against neighbors, insults freely flowed with the core affront being one's political party or sexual orientation? What if you started to see racist insults being slung openly and hatred flaring up towards immigrants across the nation? Would you sit idly by, or would you speak up about it? Things to think about and considerations on today's episode of Veteran Success Story. Welcome to another episode of Veteran Success Story. This week on Veteran Success Story, this episode is going to be a little different, as you can see from the timestamp. It's going to be a lot shorter than your standard episode, and there is no guest. I had planned on some stuff. I had another guest. I actually have another episode coming up sort of as a bonus episode, but there's been some developments not only in my own life, but obviously within the world going on right now. And it caused me to think. About some of the things going on within the U.S., some of the things going on outside of that have influence there. I am not the expert in geopolitics, therefore I'm not going to weigh in on that end. I do know, I can tell you that Iran has been a bit of a thorn in the side of the U.S. for quite some time. Matter of fact, a bunch of the IEDs that we hit within Afghanistan when we were operating over there were traced back to Iran. Multiple ways. Matter of fact, there's one of the guys that the way things worked out for him and the way that the U.S. had frozen some of the Iranian bank accounts and whatnot, he's receiving a few $1 million because of how the court system works, how they get a hold of this, how the lawyers work. It's a muddled mess if I understood any of it, other than the fact that the origin of some of these and the IEDs and some of the horrific things that we witnessed were due to Iranian influence or them supplying things. Not both. There was a few. It was not only Iranian stuff. There was Russian ordnance, not only pre-existing from there, but then there was also Chinese landmines as well. So a lot going on behind the scenes there. And something that, was finally addressed in one way or another. Not here, though. Different influence, different reasons. And as far as the show goes and the things happening inter-US or, within the USA, if something rubs you wrong, if something has you heated, there's probably a reason. There is a lot of things going on out there to where it makes me scratch my head and say, why are people going along with this? If I see within my own country, within my own neighborhood, masked men pulling up in a car to drag someone off, unidentified masked men, there's probably going to be an issue, especially if I don't have my kids with me. A lot of the reasons are, we raised our hand and took an oath, and this is kidnapping in a lot of instances. You have people within our own immigration courts that are trying to do things the right way. You have to understand, too, on the other side of things, that a lot of those cases within immigration courts, they've been going on for quite some time. And then for overnight to be deemed, sorry, I know you're trying to cross your T's and dot your I's. and you're here in a court, in a place of law, trying to rectify and become a legal citizen. You're going to make it basically an entrapment scheme. You also have to understand a lot of those people, they're bounty hunters, man. They get paid per person they drag in, and they have Immigrations and Customs Enforcement has a 3,000 people a day quota to meet. Do the math. 21,000 people a week. What happens when they run out of people to deport? What's going to happen there? If you were within the military, have you ever seen government like to cut funding to an agency or an agency? What was the thing we used to say in the military? Use it or lose it, as far as funding goes, which is why they would have spendex at ranges and whatnot. So you got a lot going on. I'll put it out there too. I'm not part of any, just a few comments out there within Facebook, especially, but social media in general, making a few comments and having people come back, oh, it's a dumb fucking Democrat, or what was the term used? Dumbassocrat, I think they said. Which is funny because I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican either. I honestly cannot put myself into either one of those groups of parties. I'm not a libertarian. I mean, really, it is like an independent. I agree with some of the policies on the Republican side, less and less these days. I agree with some of the viewpoints and policies on the Democratic side. I do. I will vote accordingly when the time comes for us to exercise that right as an American citizen. Something else to be very aware of. There's a lot going on right now within the court system, or pointing fingers and saying that the courts are trying to overturn things. No, the courts exist for a reason. The letter of the law exists for a reason. You cannot just trample over that. And the amount of legislation trying to be pushed through, and to see people within a leadership position saying things like, oh, this is going to be fine because before the last 25 years, we've had a group of dumb presidents. You've got to be kidding me. Like, JD, honest to God, man, I thought you were better than that. Apparently not. But hey, company you keep, right? So, this show will go on. But I wanted to take this week to take a pause and give everybody a chance to, I guess, process some of the stuff going on around. I know we talked about, or I talked about a little bit with it, and I know it's mentioned a lot in his book. But earlier on, go and listen to the episode with Scott Mann, and he talks about the coming times of a lot of churn, a lot of division within the country. And now's the time to stand up within your own communities and stand up for what you believe in, and stand up where you can and be an example where you can. And if enough people do that, that's where you're going to start seeing the changes. Instead of relying on somebody at the top to get the job done. That's not how this works. It's more and more apparent to me that it's going to take a lot of America banding together in one way or another to stand up and say, hey, look, this is what we want. This is what is good and right and true. Because there's a lot of lies being told right now. There's a lot of corruption bubbling to the surface, and that's across the board. That's on both sides of the aisle, guys. And whatever the end result of that is going to be, or what you're going to see in the coming days, I just hope it's something that doesn't lead to the end of democracy or the end of the constitutional republic as we know it. Because quite honestly, it's not looking good across across the board. So I'm going to leave it there. You guys are going to have an extremely short episode. I might throw a few repeats out there this week. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure yet. I might make a hell of a trailer for this one, which you have already seen and been like, what in the hell? Let's see. I haven't, the other day I recorded an hour-long episode with me ranting on about things. And I think it was last night or early this morning where I was looking through and somebody posted something and said, you know what, and this is just, it was very generalized, but it said, military influencers trying to be an expert in the geopolitical arena. And I was like, they're right. I am not an expert there. Neither are some of the correspondents you see on Fox News right now. Anybody who's watching or who knows what I'm talking about, you know exactly where I'm going with that one. So yeah, really, I'm going to say leave it in your own wheelhouse there, but within your own communities and within your own neighborhoods and within your own family. Stand for what's right and what you know to be right and good and true. And control what you can, but don't allow that stuff from the higher levels to get to you. Some of that is meant to push a response. Some of that is meant to be a distraction. Don't forget your roots and listen to that small voice. Listen to what's telling you what is true or what you know to be right inside of your heart. Don't let that outside influence push you one way or another towards anger and hate and rage. Getting emotional about certain things, that's only human. But letting emotions sway your judgment or mess with your character, that's a complete separate thing altogether. So I'm going to leave it there. And I hope you guys have had a great week and have a great week upcoming. And look forward for the next full episode, which is going to be coming soon. It's going to be from another guy who walked some of the same ground within the Arkansas River Valley as we did within Bravo Company, as well as Charlie Company. It's a good episode, honestly. It's not about the stories within there. If you want to see those stories, look at both Tracer Burnout. They did a really good job. I think he was on Team House as well, and a few other small ones. But Tracer Burnout did a pretty good job on going through the life of Joseph Fontenot. But yeah, he's the next one up in the chute, and it's something we're working on. I wanted to actually do something a little special with that episode, so we'll see if I can pull it off within the time I have allotted. But summertime has a lot going on, and I have a lot of news coming up on that end of things. There's actually something up in the air about film school. I've already been accepted on that end, so we'll see where it goes. We'll see if I can pull it off with the every which way and direction that life is headed over here. But honestly, good things to come from that. I will tell you that right there. Some really good things to come from that. So until next week, keep it together. Don't do anything stupid. And stay connected. Stay connected to your friends. Keep your head about you. So, you've been listening to Veteran Success Story. Have a good one, guys.